What up? Winbush here. Today I'm excited to bring my brand new series that I'm calling Advice. Now the reason I'm making this series is because I feel like as creatives, we can kind of all learn from each other no matter what medium. So I reached out to VFX artists, motion graphics artists, plugin creators, musicians, even managers and like art directors, anything that has to do with the creative arts. I reached out to them, asked them to send me one piece of advice that they would give to other creatives, and so that's how I came about creating this show. So to kick off this series, I'm bringing the living legend, the man that if you've been to any type of convention from Adobe Max to SIGGRAPH to NAB, you saw this guy running around the Maxon booth putting everything together. I bring to you Mathias, the event coordinator for Cinema 4D. Take it away.
Hi everyone, this is Mathias, manager of events and community outreach at Maxon, and my tip and piece of advice would be network. If you're not networking, you're not working. The world of art isn't just based on skill, it's based on who you know. Your bank account is only as big as your Rolodex, so you want to know the right people, learn the right people at the company you should be talking to, artists that you emulate, people that you want to work with. You should always be networking, making those connections, those quality connections, change into new skills as well as new business opportunities. And that's one of the major things here that I'm always doing is finding artists and connecting them to the community. So make sure that you're doing that in your own career path.
Thank you, Mathias, for that great piece of advice. That's definitely something that I'm going to work on in 2020. Throughout the years, I've done a convention talk here and there, but this year I'm going to try to make as many conventions and meet as many of you as possible and get my networking on. So my next guest that I have here on the show is my good friend Nancy. She's the co-creator of Mettle. If you guys use any of the immersive tools, whether it be in After Effects or Premiere for 360 workflow, she's one of the people on the team that are behind that. And so without further ado, let me introduce my good friend Nancy with some piece of advice for you guys.
Hi there, I'm Nancy Epper-Jesse, co-founder of Mettle, and my advice today is to believe that you can do it. Believe in yourself. When you have a goal, the most important first step is just believing that you can achieve it. The day-to-day life as a creative is pretty complex, and it's easy for self-doubt to creep in. So when that happens, just pause, reflect, breathe. I can do it, and move forward. And that's my advice today. Thank you.
So yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I know as a motion graphics artist, like it's a hard balance between believing in yourself and looking egotistical. But as artists, we must believe in ourselves, because if we don't believe in ourselves, then nobody else will. And how are you ever going to win a pitch if you're not confident in your work? So that's a great piece of advice, especially when you're starting out. Always believe in your work, and the world's getting smaller every day, so the competition is more and more. So believe in yourself, because if you don't, someone else is just going to surpass you that does have enough confidence in their work. So for my next guest, you probably already know of him. If you did any type of motion graphics tutorial search on YouTube, more than likely you came across one of his tutorials. I bring to you one half of the Workbench team, Sev.
So my advice for 2020 is, before 2020 gets rolling, go back, look at all the projects that you created during 2019. Don't just back them off. Actually take the time to look through them, because you're going to go through and you're going to find stuff that you did well, but you're also going to find little things that you did poorly that just, either slipped through the cracks, or you just didn't get done the way you wanted to, or you could have done better. And keep those in the back of your head moving forward through 2020 so that you can improve and get better at your craft.
Big ups to the guys over at Workbench. Thank you for that piece of advice. If you're not familiar with the channel, make sure you look up Workbench on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and show them some support. Tell them that you saw them here on Winbush's channel, and make sure you subscribe here, because in the next episode, we're going to have Joe from Workbench giving a piece of advice as well. Next up, we have advice from motion graphics veteran Ben. He's been working in Hollywood for a long time now, and he was nice enough to give some piece of advice that he has for some new creatives coming up. So without further ado, here's Ben.
Hey Jonathan, thanks for having me on your channel. So one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was from, I think my second boss out here. I was working at a big studio in Hollywood, and I was in a little bit of a kind of a career rut. I wasn't in the position that I wanted to be in, and even though my boss was supportive of me moving to another position, I was having a hard time with some of the other executives who were running the departments that I wanted to move into, taking me seriously from moving from being an executive assistant to being somebody who was a little bit, I think, more of a manager level. I wanted to work in production. I wanted to actually do creative things. And so I was having a little bit of a hard time with some of those executives taking me seriously and seeing me as someone beyond an administrative or an executive assistant. And so I let my boss know that I had met with some of these other departments, and they weren't really taking me seriously in terms of giving me the opportunity to prove myself in their department. And she sat me down and she said, sometimes you have to make people take you seriously. And what that means in terms of motion design and 3D animation, like you have people like Beeple or some of these other people who are doing everydays. You know, that would be an example of proving to prospective employers or whoever's going to hire you to do something that you can do the job, that you know what you're doing, that you know what you're talking about. And so that might be one way of proving yourself. Another way of proving yourself is something that I've done in the past, where I've recreated a trailer or recreated some kind of cool motion graphics element, and I've included it on my reel. And that actually worked for me recently, where I had a TV studio hire me to do a 3-month contract because of something that they saw on my reel that I actually created for my YouTube channel as a user request. So something like that could be something that could prove to other people that you can do what you say you can do. So that's one of the best pieces of career advice that I've ever gotten in this industry. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you for that piece of advice, Ben. If you guys aren't familiar with Ben's work, make sure you go to YouTube, look at beMOTION Design. You see some of his tutorials on there. He's also featured on Boris FX website too. So he's done some tutorials there as well, speak at NEB for them. So make sure you go out and support Ben and check his channel out and subscribe and tell him that you saw him here on Winbush's channel. So as for myself, if I have to give one quick piece of advice I would tell to any creative is to make sure before you do anything else in the morning, as soon as you wake up, go outside, take a walk, do some exercising, do something to get your body and your mind stimulated. Too many of us, especially of those of us that have our own business or work from home, the first thing we do is go down to the computer and start working right away. We don't really give our body any type of, like motivation to wake up, get spiritually engaged with what we're going to be doing. And, your mind, body, and your soul all need exercise. And so you want to go out, if you can, get some vitamin D from the sun. If you have to wake up really early, at least wake up early enough that you could go out, at least take a walk around the block and just kind of get your body stimulated with that fresh air. So that wraps up episode 1 here of advice. If you like what I'm doing here, make sure you leave me a comment down below. Tell me some of the guests that you like, and if you have a suggestion for any guests, make sure you let me know as well down in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. I do tutorials on here on a weekly basis, so make sure you subscribe to make sure that you get some of those tutorials, and I'm gonna try to keep this advice thing going. So like I said, if you have any suggestions, or even if you want to show up on this channel, make sure you leave me a comment down below and let me know what you want to see here in the future. And until next time, keep creating. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you guys again. Take care.